Alpine have scored points for the second time this season in Monaco, but their weekend did not go the way they had planned in terms of the teammate battle. After being P9 and P10 headed into the corner right before the tunnel, Ocon's overly ambitious launch brought him nothing but disaster. Not only would he face a penalty for the Canadian GP given by the FIA, but he's very likely to face severe repercussions from Alpine as well. With Bruno Famin, the team's boss, opening up on this situation, is this the last straw for Ocon in Alpine amid growing rumours that he's held talks with other teams as well regarding his future from 2025 onwards? It's safe to say that one of the most unstable teammates on the grid are the current French drivers in Alpine, with Ocon and Gasly's beef from their childhood days still brewing deep down in their hearts every time they go racing. And that beef might have had something to do with the last accident that happened at the opening lap of Monaco, where Ocon tried to gain advantage over his teammate and pushed him extremely wide into the barrier, resulting in a wheel contact that saw the car being airborne. What this brought was irreparable damage to Ocon's car, specifically the gearbox, and some angry messages from Pierre Gasly, who was left in awe as to why Ocon did what he did on one of the toughest tracks to overtake on the calendar. Not to mention the fact that they are teammates and they could have easily finished both inside the points, and with this ruined opportunity, Alpine might have dug themselves even deeper in the Constructors' Championship, with Williams scoring 2 points this weekend as well as Alex Albon. And this is a situation that won't go unpunished from Alpine. Bruno Famin has opened up on the latest incident, and for the first time ever, it seems like the French team understands where the issues lie. Even if we were to look at the previous weekend in Imola, we'd notice that Gasly wasn't particularly happy with how Ocon got the priority treatment yet again. And after the latest shenanigan from Esteban, Famin said that apart from the 3-place grid penalty that Ocon has received from the FIA, the team would deal with it in a much stricter way. Bruno has threatened Ocon with consequences for his actions, wanting to remind him that he's without a contract for next year, and with the options not being extremely fruitful for the Frenchman, we could very well see a different approach from Alpine in the negotiations. When talking about the incident, Famin went on to say, "It's sad that this kind of incident happened. It's exactly what we did not want to see. Ocon's attack was totally inappropriate, and there will be the appropriate consequences." It's quite interesting that Ocon did not understand the magnitude of the incident that he caused, potentially leaving his teammate outside of the points, and even more importantly, causing significant financial damage to the team. In a period where Alpine would have to be focused on developing their car after reaching the weight limit, they're now forced to spend tons of money on a new gearbox, which was the part that prevented Ocon from getting back into the race. The Frenchman refused to comment on the penalty that was given to him by the FIA, and when talking about the clash with Gasly, he said that he didn't really review the accident, so he couldn't answer this question. But the fighting mentality was present in his voice prior to the more apologetic tone that he had in the tweet. And while admitting that you have to take care when you are fighting your teammate, and crashes like this are a natural consequence of pushing 120% to get into the points, Ocon went on to write, "Today's incident was my fault. The gap was too small in the end, and I apologise to the team on this one, hoping for a deserved points finish for the team today." Now, whether Ocon is sorry or not, the results stand as they are. He was taken out of the race through an action of his own, and although this hurt Alpine massively in the Constructors' Championship, even though we're talking about 1-point performance only, it does hold the potential to further implicate more damage to Esteban's career. Although he was heavily supported by the French squad throughout the past couple of years, especially with the arrival of Gasly, as the team hoped that the tensions could simmer down, we might as well get a new lineup in Alpine in the following period. Even before the crash in Monaco happened, the situation between Ocon and Alpine was not the greatest, which was primarily due to the heavy underperformance of the car. Of course, that is not an excuse for the poor overtake attempt from Ocon, as a similar thing happened last year in Australia when the car was far more competitive, but nonetheless, The frustration in Ocon and Gasly is quite visible, which could be the primary trigger for the action that was taken by Esteban. Even though he wouldn't be in the right to do so, we cannot take back time, and what we have to look forward to now is the future of Alpine and whether the dream team of all French drivers would have to be broken for the sake of future growth and peace within the team. When talking about this matter, Ocon had some serious hidden warnings in his words, saying, "It's an important year in my career and I want to do the best I can. I don't want any regrets at the end of the year, and there is going to be a lot of work on and outside the track. There are going to be chats with the team because I am in the last year of my contract, and they are now a lot more in my favour than when we negotiated back in 2019. I am a race winner and a podium finished. We have a lot of arguments in my favour." But after the last race, those arguments would likely be shifted towards Alpine, especially if they went to show on the bill that they would have to pay after his reckless driving. What is massively important here is that Alpine might have finally understood the tension between Gasly and Ocon won't ever go away, no matter how much they hoped for, and there might be a time for another driver to step in and replace either one of the Frenchmen. Right now, it's vastly discussed, and it's an open secret that Ocon held talks with Haas regarding Magnussen's seat, who also had a miserable weekend on his own and might have neared the end of his Formula One career after the reckless move on Sergio Perez that took his own teammate out of the race as well. As for Alpine, they are definitely not out of options. Apart from Mick Schumacher, who already has F1 experience and is currently racing for Alpine in their endurance program, the French squad could also choose Jack Doan, who was their protege and academy driver last year in F2. Doan's talent and speed are definitely there, and compared to Mick, it seems like the German driver might just have the edge due to the experience he's had with Mercedes and fixing the setup of their car in the simulator, something that could help Alpine a lot when it comes to improving their car on pure merit. When talking about a potential Mick-Alpine collaboration, Famin went on to say, "He is one of the possibilities, that is for sure, like many others, but Mick is currently doing an incredible job in our endurance program. What is very impressive is his mindset. Of course, he is very fast, but I think everybody knows that. It's not always useful to have a very good lap time because you have the balance of performance on top. You have to be a bit careful with the performance. Mick, from the very first minute, has been very, very cooperative and very helpful for his teammates." A couple of weeks ago, it wasn't quite clear as to which driver Alpine would prefer to not see in their team anymore after the miserable start, but now, slowly but surely, that driver is shaping up to be Ocon. His reckless driving and the moves that were totally unnecessary in a situation in which he must look for the greater good of the team and not for himself go to show that he might not be mature enough to take Alpine back to the midfield. Even though he stood as the last podium scorer for Alpine at this same place last year, paradoxically enough, this could be the place that would also put a seal on his future with the French squad, as it would be quite interesting to see what types of consequences Famin is talking about in the aftermath of Monaco 2024. With all this in mind, do you think that there is a legitimate situation in which we will see the all-French lineup in Alpine being broken? And if so, where do you think Ocon will end up and who will replace him? Let us know in the comments below, and once you do that, make sure to check the video that's appearing on your screen right now.